What is freaking up, guys? FSD Chronicles number 40. Man, I would have never thought I'd continue to be making these. I kind of just did this as, oh, let's just see what happens. And, it just kind of all fell into place. And shout out to all the people helping me out and giving me advice. But it's FSD Chronicles 40, guys. I'm actually on the highway. I know a lot of the times in my videos I say that I don't do highway drives, but this time I'm gonna switch it up, guys. Wifey and I were talking about how FSD's been doing today. Usually call or text. We check in with one another during work and just talk about normal stuff, and then we go into Tesla. So wifey drove with her best friend who just recently purchased a Model Y Juniper, and they FSD'd out to San Francisco. So I'm excited to ask her about that when she gets home. Her best friend just got a Tesla, which is awesome. She loves it. She already admitted she would never get another vehicle because of what it has to offer, and it's a lot of value to her, she says. So I mean, just a testament to, she came from, I believe, a Chevy, and now she's in a Tesla, which we're excited for that. And we've been helping her out, and any little weird things that she's not used to, we're there for her. So shout out to her. Just the way this version is, I mean, there's so many happy people about it. Seeing it on X is very rewarding. Just seeing everyone's reactions. I call these rapid fire weeks. It's just Tesla is just it's like an unlimited clip of just fire the whole week, and the Tesla community is usually pretty fired up. But I did a video with John yesterday. Can't say too much. We smart summoned his Cybertruck around the Silicon Valley yesterday. That was awesome. Shout out my boy John. Appreciate you, man. You and Joe do so much for the Owners Club, and we wouldn't have a lot of the things we have now without you guys. So I appreciate you guys. The smart summon. I mean, guys. I don't obviously have a Cybertruck. I'm a huge fan of it. Model 3, Model Y owner, but it's such an iconic car. No matter what side of the fence you are. I mean, bulletproof, stainless steel, can take a beating. It's been put through its paces. Prez went to Utah with it, and obviously came back, and it's. I know how much this means to individuals, and shout out to you guys finally getting summoned and being able to enjoy this. So, I'm really thankful I was able to hang out with John yesterday. Him and I always have really great conversations before the content happens. It's the one thing I appreciate about John. It's just not all about Tesla, and we make sure we check in with each other, and vice versa with my boy Prez. So those two guys, man, they're, in my opinion, pillars of the community, and I appreciate them, is what I'm trying to say at the end of the day. A lot of hard work and dedication and sacrifice to keep this thing going, having the lights stay on. So shout out to those fellas. Guys, I mean, with 14.3.4, I mean, it's so good, right? I'm on a 17-mile streak. Actually wanted to park somewhere specific at the last stop I had. I don't know. I like parking my car far away. How are you guys when it comes to parking? I either park next to a Tesla or I park really far away. It's just always been a habit, even before I got a Tesla. The one topic my apprentice brought up today is, how fast this is coming, and where is Tesla going to take the globe? And they're taking over. I mean, guys, just, you know, for those who's watching and using this video as a reference, like, man, should I buy FSD? I mean, the fact that Honda pulled out of Korea, I believe it's Korea, and they were there for 20 years. I mean, that says a lot. You know, in my family household, like as a whole, like outside of my family that I have, you know, when my aunts and uncles say like, oh, what car should I get? They always revert to a Honda or a Toyota. And, you know, my wife and I are firm believers that it's going to change, and it's changing rapidly. And, you know, they're not talking about everything that's going on. And I mean, guys, from, you know, like I said in my video yesterday, from Neuralink, Starlink, FSD, to using 18650s to, you know, power up a car. I mean, guys, besides bashing on, you know, Elon about all this, I mean, guys, that's like really hard to achieve. Like, if you really just take a step back and like really realize what Tesla is doing in SpaceX, I mean, who else is doing it? I mean, I'd be mad too, right? Like, I don't think Elon's hate is hate. I think more so it's envy. And, you know, that's what comes with being a successful individual. That comes with anybody, right? Whether you're a basketball player, football player, you know, you can be loved, but you can also be despised as well, right? And, you know, going through trials and tribulations of my life, and, you know, not without saying too much, you know, I just don't focus on that stuff, right? Like, the main goal is humanity, right? And, you know, tell me who else besides him, right, that is gearing life for humanity. You know, like I said in all my videos, guys, I get it. He's not the cup of tea for some people, but at the end of the day, do your research first. Because a lot of the times, these healthy conversations I get in with people, they don't even own a Tesla. So it's like, how can you talk about something that you don't even know about or don't even own at the end of the day? And I get it, you know, Tesla people, they're passionate. But at the end of the day, the reason why we're passionate is like, this is so hard to achieve. This is like, just think about that, guys. I'm literally making a video while paying attention, hands here, chilling. We're just talking about Tesla talk. I mean, I get it, right? Like, you know, I'm so new to this, but at the same time, I've been exposed to many pillars in our community, and it's like, it just doesn't make sense. But, you know, at the end of the day, we can't worry about that as long as we're doing good and being a light. All that other stuff you can't control. You know, I'm on the verge of, give me the facts and then I'll make my own consensus. And obviously I'm imperfect, right? I've had instances where I was wrong, but I'm okay with that, right? Like, you know, what I'm learning in this journey is like a lot of growth within myself. And, you know, that's shout out to Tesla, right? Like, they push the envelope at the end of the day. And last time I checked, guys, they've been pretty successful, right? Like, let's not talk about SpaceX IPO. Blew it out the waters. You know, so many people thought that it was going to fail, it was going to crash, it was a joke. Nah. It freaking flourished even more, right? And, you know, one of my apprentices said, like, and it stuck with me throughout the day today, he said, I don't understand how someone who's doing more for humanity versus other CEOs in the world, and yes, we understand mistakes have been made, but those mistakes made the company who they are. Like, guys, I don't think you understand, Tesla was going to become bankrupt, and he said, screw it, I'm cutting my money in half, hitting the full send button, and if it fails, it fails. I mean, for someone to do that, I mean, that's like a huge risk, guys. I mean, that's such a trip to think about. But that was one of the things that my apprentice talked to me about today that kind of opened my mind to things and to talk about this topic I think it's a great topic as long as it's healthy, right? I think any conversation is great as long as it's a healthy conversation. It's when the bickering happens, right? Like, it's okay to like agree to disagree, right? Because at the end of the day, your relationship with that person matters, not just because you're a fan of something, right? If that's the case, then nobody would get along, right? Like, I'm sure you guys have many friends that are into things and it's not your cup of tea, but hey, you support them. You're still buddies with them. So, we'll move on from that topic, guys, but, that's just my standpoint on it. And whether you like it or not, that's just a personal opinion of mine, and we're entitled to that. And, do your research, guys, is all I'm going to say. Another thing that's not being talked about because there's so much stuff happening is Europe. Guys, we have so many things happening in Europe. And guys, Belgium, Denmark, the Netherlands are 3 times safer than manual driving, according to their stats, right? So just imagine, that stuff, and we're going to have a stack in Europe. Just think about that, right? It's not the US where the roads are, for the most part, simple, right? In, Europe, it's tight, it's weird, there's crazy roundabouts. Like, I'm so excited to see Tesla really get that stack down in Europe, and I can't wait to see the content. Shout out to all my Europe people out in Europe. Congrats. Hopefully it just becomes rapid fire like FSD updates. I know you guys have been waiting, and you guys have, some portions of Europe got it. Shout out to you guys. Hardware 3. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that subject. We're anticipating 14 Lite in June, obviously. It's been talked about. It's a touchy subject, but, I hope that they make this right for everyone. I'm not going to get too deep of pricing or anything like that, but I get both sides at the end of the day. And, for all of my Hardware 3 people, hopefully it's a smoking deal for a new car, or hopefully 14 Lite just gives you guys that piece that you guys have been waiting for. So can't wait for the content on that. For that question, any Hardware 3 owners still rocking FSD? I know my buddy Tony Quick Bandit uses it religiously, right? So, he loves it at the end of the day, right? But, let me know in the comments, guys, any Hardware 3 owners using FSD constantly? And if so, what are some of the quirks? What are some of the differences? When I did my Hardware 3 FSD video with Tony Quick Bandit, the weird things were you couldn't get out of his driveway. He had to do that himself. I think for the parking, you have to select. There's a certain way to do it. It's not just like FSD Hardware 4 where it automatically does it for you. But, even then, guys, the fact that Hardware 3 is still keeping up and they're still working on it is great, right? And that's all you can ask for. I feel like us as humans, we kind of tend to forget the beginning stages of everything. And then once we're kind of like in the middle of the burger, we just forget how hard this is to accomplish. But, I'm excited for all my Hardware 3 owners. Shout out to you guys. Can't wait for the content. What is your guys' favorite feature of the spring update, right? I know it's been a while, but, like I said in my last video, let's do it, guys. Hey, Grok, tell me some good news today that happened in the USA today.
Retail sales jumped 0.9% in May, thanks to warm weather and lower gas prices. Plus, a new non-surgical procedure is easing knee pain for millions across the US.
Got it. Thanks, Rock. And it's just stuff like that, man, that, people don't realize guys, like, is there another company that's going to send you software updates rapidly? I updated last week and I updated this week. 2 updates in 2 weeks. Not even 2 weeks. Like maybe a couple days. But I really wanted to talk about how we can have people try FSD more, right? Obviously, the king of kings is butts and seats, right? But not a lot of people like videoing or putting themselves out there. I've had a couple ideas. I think the Robotaxi network is a terrific way to show FSD, right? Because that is literally showing you, hey, we're a Robotaxi. There's nobody in here. I'm going to get you to your destination. And I feel like that's going to be a huge selling point eventually. Because if you guys think about it, right, with Uber, you have to rely on people to go to work and hit the app, right? With Tesla, it's like, nah, we don't have to do that. We have our own network. I don't have to worry about others waking up in the morning and having to fulfill my business, right? Which I understand the other side of the fence of it, which is, what about the Uber drivers, right? Yeah, I have no answer for that. Hopefully they can find a common ground, but I believe if once Robotaxi gets solved and that becomes a thing, I believe that's going to help a lot of people, adopt FSD, whether you're a Tesla owner now or you're considering being one. I feel like that's going to change a lot of people's opinions. Being from the Bay Area, a lot of people use Uber to get to work. Some people in San Francisco, they don't even own a car. Because, like, why? So we're going to get to my destination, guys. I'm going to meet up with my parentals. So, I hope you guys have fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I wanted to do a freeway video. I'm always usually in the city, running some errands. Gonna go meet up with my parents. But other than that, guys, for those, I'm gonna end it this way. For those wanting to get into a community or want to be around other Tesla owners, feel free to hit me up in the DMs. I'm all about community. I'm all about helping others out. I don't gatekeep. For what? We're all in it for the same goal at the end of the day, which is to support FSD, Tesla, SpaceX. Gatekeeping is not in the vocabulary. I'd rather help out someone, and be a light to someone in the community, because sometimes that's all it takes, at the end of the day. And I want to shout out one guy, who I haven't met him yet, but it's genuine love. He's very positive. He's on his page. He's on his time. I'm not necessarily saying he doesn't care about what people think, but he knows how to filter out a lot of stuff. And, shout out Smokey, man. I think I want to say I DM'd you one day about something, and I think the rest was history. I got into spaces because of Smokey. I'm not very good at talking in spaces. I'm more so like listen for knowledge and just hearing all the knowledge from different people, from different perspectives. So yeah, man, Smokey, he's just one of those dudes where, like, if you're feeling upside down, he'll make you happy. Look at that, just avoided a ball. Looks like a little basketball there, or like a rubber ball from a school or something. Clip that. But yeah, Smokey's and also another huge pillar in our community. He does so much for us, and he always has such a positive outlook in life, and I appreciate that at the end of the day, right? Because 2 years ago I was in a dark spot in my life, and not to get too personal, I pulled myself out of it, and being a veteran, we're taught to survive, and that's what I did until I felt I was ready to get into Tesla, right? I got into Tesla, and the rest was history, guys. All this stuff fell into place. But we're going to hit our exit here. I'm going to meet up with my parents. They're already kind of waiting on me. So I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate you guys taking the time out of the day to watch. And most of all, be good, do good, be a light in the world. And most of all, guys, please like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll catch you on the next Chronicles.